What's happening? 24/7, Sergio here again. Sorry I missed you guys last week, but I will be back this week, although I will not be speaking. If you remember a certain Scott Kabel who used to be with us a few years ago, and then who took off to go do his own thing, well, he's with us this weekend. So here's a short interview of what he's been doing and kind of what he's going to talk to us about and hang out with us on Saturday. So check this out.
I got this job. It was pretty interesting. It was I was music director and boats, like waterfront director at Nasoka.
Where's Nasoka?
Nasoka is in South Carolina.
Okay.
So yeah, summer camp. I love it. So it was sad to leave my 24/7 family, but camp is a thing I love. So it was a good thing to jump to. And then actually I had an interview, a sit down interview with the big guy out in Taiwan, like 2 or 3 weeks before I left, and so yeah, after Nasoka, I flew straight to Taiwan. The first year in Taiwan was English camp, so great situation out in the mountains. 5th graders coming. We just taught them a few English words, played some games. So, hiked them down to the river, skipped rocks,
Very cool. And hot, I'm assuming.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Very hot. So, I've been looking forward to winter for like 2 or 3 years, so. Anyway, the second year I was working at the Adventist Academy, teaching English. So that was, it was good, but it was not something I was necessarily trained for. The academy in Taipei, I was actually teaching from books that I had in high school. So I was literally an English teacher, and I taught like 2 classes that were literature classes to students who were higher level, and then I also taught ESL classes. So I like kind of both sides. It's good. Yeah. Just teaching specifically first. Just the beauty and the power of repetition and polishing and knowing your stuff so well that you're not concerned about the content anymore, but you're concerned about the students and how they're understanding the content. So like that's something just because I had never taught before. And I went to this English camp where I was teaching the same class 4 times a week, every other week for a year. It's like I got to the point where I was able to understand or to guess what their reactions would be to everything, and kind of measure, their language level and all that stuff. So that's something I came away with. I really appreciate. To start a 2-year master's at Andrews for teaching ESL.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So that's a very roundabout way of finding your way to that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Right. I've definitely been the guy who's like, I'm never going to do this, I'm never going to do that. But I definitely have seen God. I mean, God brought me here, Auburn and Seattle 24/7, and I learned some really valuable lessons, and He's been sort of jumping me around, this whole time ever since. So. Well, I think eventually I'm going to run my own ESL program. What I'm finding is that there are things our church does well and things that it doesn't do well, and I think teaching language is something that I don't think we figured out. So, it has to do with what people are capable of, how does the mind really work? These are the questions we get to ask a lot, and I remember even, at 24/7 preaching a sermon about sin and the human condition. And that's one thing I really want to look at as far as language learning is how does the human condition factor in? So it's all coming together to hopefully have me setting up a language school. I'm thinking having a farm and a restaurant and like a hotel, and people come and live and work, and then we have guests coming and they serve them, and all the while they're kind of learning words here and there, and their language levels going up. So it's one idea. So that'd be here in the U.S. But yeah,
That's very
it's
cool.
a possibility.
Instead of the typical come to this church or come to this school so you can take your ESL classes.
Sit down, here's your grammar book, like that stuff.
Yeah. Doesn't always work.
It's not for me, and I don't think it's for them. It's interesting that most of these songs actually came before I came to 24/7, but I don't think I really played that often. Like I helped out with worship sometimes, and I played a couple times. But so we're gonna go back into my past, even pre 24/7, and sort of follow some of the mistakes I made, some of the things I learned, just interacting with people, traveling around, and just trying at sometimes to resist God, and then also just those moments, kind of like aha moments where it's like, well, God actually taught me something, and I need to remember this. Mm-hmm. So some of these songs, it's the whole theme will be based on relationships, whether that's with the people around you, with yourself, or even with God. And I think we'll kind of track. It's kind of that that you meet the person, you get interested, you commit to them, like we do, or what like I will to a spouse eventually, and like we should to Christ. Understanding what that means, understanding what kind of sacrifice and commitment that really is, and then look at some of the resistance, some of the things that keep us from fully giving ourselves to each other and to Christ, and then hopefully like throwing a positive light at the end, of how God can really change us and what we really have to look forward to.
Excellent. And
this will all be sort of in the setting of songs and and kind of interactive dialogue. So I want to hear from you guys. When I'm doing this thing.
So we see you this Saturday at 11:30 sharp to come hear what Scott Kabel's got for us. God bless and peace out.